Okay, so taking a look at the Dawntrail Job Action trailer for Gunbreaker, we're going to break down what we see and work out a working rotation that you can practice now before Dawntrail actually hits. And once we see the media tour, we'll get to see how it kind of pairs up and if we can still use this as practice and then kind of amend from there. So going into Gunbreaker, the first thing that we're going to see is that our gap closer appears to do no damage now and just seems to be a dash. I don't think Rough Divide is going to be in the game anymore, but we'll see. So Tank Stance goes on. We see a Crundum. We see a Lightning Shot. We know defensives are going to change a little bit, but we're waiting to see how they change when we get more details. But that's not going to matter for the rotation. We see Lightning Shot. We see the dash, and this means either the hitbox of the enemy is going to be larger, or it's just a dash. The more I look at it, the more I'm leaning towards it probably being a gap closer, and the target's hitbox is just larger, which looks silly, right? When you can't see anything, it looks silly. You're looking at the game, you're like, you're just stopped short, right? But that's probably the case. That's probably the case. And then we go forward, and we're going to see Demon Slice, Demon Slaughter to get a cartridge, and it's going to go into Fated Circle, and Fated Circle does have continuation now, which is fine. There's their 1, there's their 2. Brutal Shell still gives the shield. We see the Solid Barrel. No Mercy now grants Ready to Break. So we're going to get Sonic Break while you're inside of No Mercy. It's important to remember because we're not going to Sonic Break before. Not that you ever would. After that, we're going to see Bloodfest. Now, Bloodfest is going to grant a new set of abilities that you're going to see at the end. It's 3 GCDs that we're going to use. They'll use it at the end. We'll talk about where we're going to place it depending on the changes. So they go into a Gnashing Fang. They go into their Savage Claw, their Wicked Talon, still has continuation on all of those buttons. Then they're going to pop their Double Down. The OG CDs are still fine. They're still whatever, you know, Blasting Zone, Bow Shock, where you can weave them. Now we have our new Lionheart, right? Now we have our new Lionheart combo. And if you look, you're not going to see any OG CDs used, right? This little flash here, this little aura, indicates that it's a weapon skill and not an ability. We don't see any ability swirl happening in between, so it's likely no continuation in between those, which is great because now we have a way to pop mitigation during a burst window without it costing anything. So let's look over at the game and talk about how we're going to work that into a rotation. I'm going to be running a 2.4 GCD. Going into Prog, I like to be a little bit faster. 2.5 is more rigid. You get 8 GCDs and No Mercy, but also if you like kind of delay your rotation a little bit, it's not great, is what I'm saying. So I'll be running a 2.4. So we're going to work off of the basis that we'll get 9 GCDs in No Mercy, which means that you want to use right around, like, so you'll see this turning, right? You see our GCD spinning, you want to use it right around 2/3. Right around 2/3 is when you'll pop your No Mercy. And that'll make sure you get your 9 GCDs. So we're going to start the window. I'll open with Lightning Shot, but the basis is going to be 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to go into No Mercy. And then you would Gnashing Fang so that you can get Bloodfest going. Then you could Sonic Break. And then we could Double Down, right, to get that running. And then we could Savage Claw, Wicked Talon. I'm going to use Lightning Shot in lieu of not having, you know, Lionheart right now. So we're going to use Lightning Shot as Lionheart 1, Lightning Shot as Lionheart 2. Then we're going to Burst Strike. And then we're going to do our third Lionheart. And the reason for that is because if you get 9 GCDs inside of your No Mercy, right, let's count them out. So you get Gnashing Fang, Lionheart, Sonic Break, Double Down. We're still missing 1 GCD. What's it going to be? Burst Strike? Well, Burst Strike has Hyper Velocity attached to it, right? If it's your 9th GCD, you're not going to get that continuation inside the window. So, as long as Lionheart doesn't break when we use a Burst Strike in between, the logic of Gunbreaker right now dictates that it probably won't. We'll see, obviously. But if that's the case, then we would Burst Strike before that Lionheart finishes. Otherwise, if you're worried about things breaking, you could move Sonic Break or Double Down to the end if the fight's going to last long enough that you're not going to lose any dot ticks or that you'll get the Double Down. And if none of that's the case, we'll just Burst Strike at the end. We won't worry about the Hyper Velocity. So that's the idea. So let's go into it. And I'll just put 5 seconds on the clock. So you get the 5 seconds on the clock, and we're going to Lightning Shot in. And you're going to do 1, 2, 3. You could Potion before that Solid Barrel. Now we're going to Gnashing Fang. And remember, we're assuming Rough Divide is gone, so I'm not going to use it. We get all of our Gnashing Fang combo out of the way. Lionheart 1. Lionheart 2, and here's where you're going to see that burst strike I talked about. Into Lionheart 3, last GCD of the No Mercy window. From there, we get to go 1, 2, 3 again, and then our Gnashing Fang will be back up, so we could go right into Gnashing Fang. If you're not on a 2.4 GCD, you may have to do a Keen Edge there to be safe. Otherwise, you're probably going to clip your GCD to get that, which is, well, actually, it's probably fine. You can do the Keen Edge just in case. It's fine. It doesn't matter. We need to drip Gnashing Fang back a GCD every minute anyways at 2.4, so it's fine. It's not a big deal. So right here, here's where we get that delay, right? So we go into No Mercy. We get our Sonic Break ready. And so double down. And now this window, you're already going to be used to it, right? You're already going to be used to it. And then you rough it out. You get the Burst Strike. And then end on the Keen. Because it's not going to be a Lionheart Bloodfest window, you're ending on like whatever 3-part combo you had. So if you had a Keen Edge and a Brutal Shell, then you're going to have the Solid Barrel. If you had Brutal Shell, Solid Barrel like we just did, you're going to end on the Keen Edge, etc. Right? Not a big deal. So we get our 1, 2, 3s going here, and here's where we're going to enter our first 2-minute window, and where you'll finally start to see how smooth this is going to be. If it works the way that we think it does. And not having the rough divides is kind of cool, because now we have a little bit more weave space, right, for mitigation. So we're going to go into our window, and we're actually on Solid Barrel, which is cool. So we get the Sonic Break. After we double down, we're going to be able to Bloodfest. There's our 3 GCDs. We were just granted Lionheart. So there's Lionheart 1, Lionheart 2, Burst Strike, Lionheart 3. If you're in a potion window now, you can go Burst Strike, Solid Barrel, Burst Strike. That's if you're in a potion window, right? So you could do that at the 6-minute. You could do that at the 6-minute if you want to. Otherwise, you could pool those cartridges in case the boss is going to go away, or you just want to only use Burst Strike when you're going to overcap. That's fine. Totally cool. Not a big deal. Right? And even though I expended all of my cartridges, right? We used them all. We're going to go into our next window. So this is now going to be the 3-minute window with 3 cartridges. Which is pretty banging. All in all, this seems like it's going to be pretty smooth. I really didn't like what they did with Double Down and Endwalker. But I think with this change, with Lionheart being free, like it's a really good decision, right? Yeah. Like, I think it's pretty nice. IMO, Double Down being able to double wave mitigation and having a 5 Yom radius is good, because if you have to kick off the boss, it's nice. However, because it's an AoE centered on you, you have to be careful not to miss the target. All of that is nice, but the 2 cartridges, with Bloodfest only granting 3, with not really changing anything else about our rotation and Endwalker, kind of sucked. I know a lot of people were disappointed in it. I was. I love Gunbreaker. It's my baby, but I was still disappointed by that. But if this new Lionheart works the way we think it does, and Sonic Break is still a GCD, which I see no reason why it shouldn't be. And we're back in our other window again, by the way. This time I'm going to pool the cartridges. Here's Lionheart 1, Lionheart 2, Burst Strike Hyper Velocity, Lionheart Finisher. And I'll just keep things pooled, right? I'll just keep things pooled. Yeah, this is going to be very comfortable. I'm going to enjoy this a lot, I think. If it's this way, right? If it's this way. Now, if it's not, we'll readdress it, but they don't seem like they're really, breaking the mold too much with tanks this time around. They kind of tend to play it safe, and they want jobs to be relatively homogenized. So we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. Maybe I'll end up still going Warrior for the World Race. We'll see. I would love to play Gunbreaker. I know Ken also really wants to play Gunbreaker. He got to play it last time, though. And with Anabasios, we were able to place 4th place in the world. I'm feeling pretty confident that we'll be able to go for first this time. I'm feeling pretty confident, which you need to be, right? I think if you're going to win, if you want to be first, you should be a little confident and cocky. because you kind of need that ego a little to take it across the finish line, right? If you're just like, oh, we'll try our best, we'll probably lose, but if we win, that's cool. That's kind of like weird. So I'm like, all right, it's okay to be confident and cocky in this moment, okay? If Blue Lock taught me anything, it's you gotta be. I love that anime. Yeah, I hope that y'all will enjoy when we go into the world race. I hope y'all will enjoy when we get to go to Dawntrail and actually bump up to level 100. I can't wait to teach you guys again. It's going to be great getting into the extremes, which we won't be able to do until like Tuesday night after early access, because we're going to take the time to watch the story, and we agreed to blind prog the extremes after everybody has gotten to level up a little bit over the weekend. So I'll be able to jump in with you all on starting that Tuesday. And then for Savage, you know, as soon as the world race is done, I would love to just go in that night. Like, depending on what time we finish, I'd like to just go into Party Finder and just chill a little bit. And I'll have my alts to raid on anyways, so. Ooh. Ignore that last window. I kind of did an Endwalker rotation because I didn't have Lionheart because it doesn't exist yet. That's what we get for talking. So yeah, that's all I really wanted to show y'all, is that I suspect our rotation is going to be pretty straightforward. It's going to be a lot more seamless. It's going to be smooth. It's going to be wonderful. I think for progression, it's going to be nice, because the current problem that you have with Gunbreaker is when you die, you get up with no cartridges. You die on Paladin, you come back with no gauge. You die on Dark Knight, you get up with no mana. You die on Warrior, you have weakness while you're still doing your Fellcleaves. Like, it's kind of nice, right? I'm probably going to get pushed onto Warrior for prog. It's very convenient. Holmgang has short cooldown. The rotation's very easy to execute. But with the free cost of Lionhearts during Bloodfest, maybe I can convince Ken to play Paladin or Dark Knight. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. That's what I wanted to show you guys. I'll catch you next time. Peace.